Dear friends, English literature, Elizabethan and Jacobean drama, Macbeth by William Shakespeare, brief questions with answers. Brief questions 149 to 199. Question 149. What does Macbeth wish the knocking could do? Answer. Macbeth wishes that it could wake Duncan from death. Question 150. What three things does drinking provoke? Answer. It provokes nose painting, sleep, and urine. Question 151. How does Lennox describe the night? Answer. Lennox described the night as a terrible one, saying it predicted terrible, confusing times ahead. Question 152. What is Macbeth's response? Answer. Macbeth brushes it off by saying that it was a rough night. Question 153. What did Macduff discover? Answer. Macduff discovered Duncan's body. Question 154. Who first learns a murder has been taken place? Answer. Macduff first learns that murder has taken place. Question 155. Who do you think bears the greater responsibility for the murder of King Duncan? Answer. Lady Macbeth had the most responsibility in the murder of King Duncan because she has to make sure that her husband goes through with the murder plot, and in the end she has to finish the task. Question 156. What is the first reaction to the king's death and who is it? Answer. The reaction from Macduff is great horror, almost unconceivable horror. Question 157. Oh, gentle lady, it's not for you to hear what I can speak. The repetition in a woman's war would murder as it fell. Who says this? What is the ironic about this? Answer. Macduff says this. This is ironic because Lady Macbeth was a determining force in the death of Duncan. She is no lady. Question 158. What does Macbeth do to the supposed murderers and why? Answer. Macbeth kills the supposed murderers in fury. He claimed that in his great fury he kills them without thinking. Question 159. Who are the supposed murderers? Answer. The grooms are the supposed murderers. Question 160. What action does Macbeth take against the grooms? Answer. Macbeth kills the grooms. Question 161. What excuse did Macbeth give for killing the guards? Or what is his real reason? Answer. Macbeth did it out of pain and rage, but he actually wanted to be rid of any possible witnesses to the murder. Question 162. Why does Ross have doubts about accepting the grooms as the murderers? Answer. Ross has doubts about accepting the grooms as the murderers because he wonders what they had to gain from killing the king. Question 163. Why did Lady Macbeth faint? Answer. Lady Macbeth fainted because she was trying to move the attention from the murder to herself. Question 164. What does Lady Macbeth's fainting signify? Answer. Lady Macbeth's fainting signifies that she is completely shocked that the king has been murdered. Question 165. Who is Lady Macbeth? Why is Lady Macbeth's fainting ironic? Answer. Lady Macbeth's fainting is ironic because she planned the murder of Duncan. Question 166. Why does Ross not believe Malcolm and Donalbain were responsible for Duncan's murder? Answer. Ross does not believe that Malcolm and Donalbain were responsible for Duncan's murder. He says it is against nature, both their personal natures and nature as the ruling force in the universe. Question 167. Why do Malcolm and Donalbain decide to flee? Answer. Malcolm and Donalbain did doubt that Macbeth murdered the king Duncan and feared that they may be the next to be killed by Macbeth, so they decide to flee. Question 168. Who does Macduff say has killed King Duncan? Answer. Macduff says that Malcolm and Donalbain have killed the King Duncan. Question 169. Why do Malcolm and Donalbain fall under suspicion? Answer. Malcolm and Donalbain fall under suspicion because they fled the castle upon the finding of the murder. Question 170. Why is Macduff concerned that our old robes may fit easier than our new ones? Answer. Macduff is concerned that our old robes may fit easier than our old ones because he thinks that they should do things secretly from now on and they might be the next to die. Question 171. God's Venetian go into, and with those that would make good or bad, and friends of foes. What does the line suggest? Answer: it is a warning to Rose that he should be very careful in dealing with Macbeth. Question 172: What are Banquo's thought about the witch's prophecies in Act 3, Scene 1? Answer: in Act 3, Scene 1, Banquo believes the witch's prophecies because of Macbeth. Question 173: What are Macbeth's thought about the prophecies? Answer: in Act 3, Scene 1, Macbeth is concerned about the people he killed. Question 174: Why does Macbeth have Banquo killed? Answer: Macbeth fears that Banquo's children will ascend the throne and he doesn't want that to happen. So he has Banquo killed. Question 175: What is Macbeth's plan for killing Banquo and Fleancy? Answer: Macbeth plans to hire two convicted murderers to wait along the road to ambush them. Question 176: Whom were the murderers told to kill? Answer: the murderers were told to kill Banquo and Fleancy. Question 177: Why is it necessary to kill both Banquo and Fleancy? Answer: if only Banquo is killed, Fleancy could step in. So it is necessary to kill both Banquo and Fleancy. Question 178: What goes wrong with the murderers' plans? Answer: the murderers became able to murder Banquo, but Fleancy escapes. Question 179: Why does Macbeth hire murderers to kill Banquo? Answer: he's already feeling guilty for killing Duncan. He doesn't want to have more guilt by killing his friend Banquo. For this reason, Macbeth hired murderers to kill Banquo. Question 180: What happens when the murderers try to kill Banquo and his son? Answer: the murderers kill Banquo, but his son Fleancy escapes. Question 181: The orb that is flayed hath nature that in time will venom breed. No teeth for the present. Who says this and what does that mean? As Macbeth says this, it means that Fleancy is of no immediate threat to him personally. Question 182: How does Macbeth feel with his newfound power? Answer: with his newfound power, Macbeth is very insecure about having one of his enemies take it from him. Question 183: What did Macbeth see at the banquet table? Answer: Macbeth saw Banquo's ghost at the banquet table. Question 184: How does Lady Macbeth cover for Macbeth at the banquet? Answer: Lady Macbeth tells the guest that her husband often has these fits that those who know him will have learned to ignore them. When Macbeth really gets out of hand, she sends the guest home. Question 185: Who else was missing from the banquet table? Answer: Macduff is missing from the banquet table. Question 186: What does the ghost of Banquo do to Macbeth's paranoia? Answer: the ghost of Banquo makes Macbeth completely insane. He knows that he can never be free of the guilt connected with the murders of his friends. Question 187: Why does Macbeth want to see the witches again? Answer: Macbeth wants to see the witches again because he wants to find out what is going to happen. Question 188: How does Lady Macbeth make her husband feel better after seeing the ghost? Answer: after seeing the ghost, Lady Macbeth tries to get her husband to feel better by making him go to sleep. Question 189: What does Lady Macbeth think Macbeth needs most? Answer: Lady Macbeth thinks that Macbeth needs sleep most. Question 190: Macbeth says, I am in blood steeped, so far that should I may wait no more, returning where as steady as go over. What does he mean? There is no going back now. Macbeth is committed to this course of action, whatever terrible things he may yet have to do. Question 191: What does Hecate want the witches to do? Answer: Hecate wants the witches to give Macbeth some visions which will give him false impressions, false hopes for his personal safety and the safety of his rule, so he will continue on his path of destruction. Question 192. What does Lennox think about Macbeth, Fleancy, and Duncan's sons? Answer. Lennox thinks Macbeth is the good guy, Fleancy killed Banquo, and Duncan's son killed the king. Question 193. In Act 3, Scene 4, what reason does Lennox give for Macduff's being in disgrace? Answer. As Macduff did not attend the banquet, Lennox gave it for Macduff's being in disgrace. Question 194. Why is Macduff trying to accomplish in England? Answer. Macduff is trying to accomplish in England to get an army together. Question 195. How has the relationship between Macbeth and his wife changed? Answer. They have split because Macbeth has redrawn to himself. Question 196. What are the witches doing at the beginning of this Act 4? Answer. At the beginning of Act 4, the witches are making a brew. Question 197. For whom is the witches waiting at the beginning of Act 4? Answer. At the beginning of the Act 4, the witches are waiting for Macbeth. Question 198. By the pricking of my thumb, something wicked this way comes. Who comes? Answer. Macbeth comes. Question 199. What is Macbeth's attitude towards the witches this time? Answer. He's demanding, trying to take charge. Thank you friends for watching my video.